Yeah.
Jay McInerney.
What?
Jay McInerney.
Jay McInerney, indeed. A novel that at least the two of us will recommend. A real pleasure to be here with this diverse range of poets from all over the world. We are 6 poets on stage, so we're going to be smooth and economical with our time, I hope. And we're going to start with Shirani Rajapakse, who is a poet and a short story writer. She's self-published, so she says she's not really regarded as a writer because she publishes herself. But she publishes more abroad than in Sri Lanka. She loves dogs, not so much cats. She's a self-confessed armchair activist. Human rights, elephants, because they've been killed in Sri Lanka, cows and chickens who are killed for food, and of course, no surprise, she's a vegetarian. Also, she is shocked by the treatment of women here in India, and says she feels blessed to live in Sri Lanka, where women can do what they please.
More or less. More or less.
More honest.
Yeah.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Ayubowan, Bangalore. It's lovely to be here. I'm reading 3 poems from this book. It's my latest book that I published last year. And my poetry, really, I'm influenced by whatever happens around me, not just necessarily in Sri Lanka. But this particular poem that I'm reading, my first one, was written a couple of years back when there was, from the government kind of stopped people from, playing patriotic songs, and there was this, it wasn't, an obvious thing, but they stopped playing it on the radio. And a lot of us felt very bad about this because, these were songs that we grew up with. And this is my response to that. It's called A Forced Silence. When songs sung by elders rush out of my throat to touch clouds that turn ears to listen a while, are stopped short by lips forced shut. They bang on teeth locked tight, hover at the corners trying to find a way out. Unseen forces hard at work, trying to hide my words from the world. Old expressions, ancient rhymes have no place in this land they want to refashion in an image alien to us, erasing all that we were, throwing out our roots, digging up the old roads that brought us all here. Guns cocked in all directions. Sentinels stand guard at the entrance to the future, checking bags for memories hidden in the embroidery, the curls in my hair. Leave them all there in the past, in a heap at the gate they've bolted. Let them wither and die a slow death, like old leaves fallen off trees no one recognizes. Crying in silence, tears rushing to hold them up, one last look at the sun, one last kiss of the winds. But nothing can prevent nature taking over, eating up that which was, until nothing remains except dust. Like mice, my words, they want to throw away. Keep out of this mad rush to grasp a future made inside closed spaces and whipped up hurriedly like an unfinished recipe. But how do I halt the destiny of my words? How let them rot in damp spaces that no one visits? How do I sing of childhood memories, growing up in happy places? How share with friends and family those tunes that were ours and ours alone? They've taken away my songs, claim some strange reason, throw threats of racism that never existed in the utterances. They force me to sing their songs, dance to their tunes. But how do I make my lips mold words they find hard to articulate? How force feet to gyrate to a foreign beat? My words, my tunes, my history, my life, slowly killed. But folks that make the rules don't let minds work that way. My voice they still, my lips they seal, and my words they force into hiding with threats of death. The next one that I'm reading is, I wrote this in 2013 when Israel attacked children playing on a beach in Gaza. And this was my response. It's called On the Beach. And when the smoke cleared, they saw the child lying on the sand like a piece of paper, crumpled and thrown into the trash. Salt winds ruffled his hair. The waters beyond beckoned. Come into me, come into me. The waves whispered, running in and out, waiting for him to get up and run. Run like he was doing before he fell. Run like he wanted to race into her cool embrace. Run like it was the better place to be. But his feet had stopped moving. His eyes stopped seeing. He no longer heard the voices of the sea, sounds of gulls in the air. The roar of guns silenced inside his head forever. And as they ran towards him, their child, they saw the earth stick out her tongue and begin to sip him in. Slowly, slowly, she drank him in, drop by little drop of red, quenching the earth. And around him lay the others, stopped in play, feeding the earth, staring up, up. And as the cry rose from their throats, and they beat their breasts in vain, falling to the ground to ask what mad God would do such to his sons, the skies started to howl anew as madness rained down once more. And the last one is something I wrote about. There was an anarchist bookshop in the UK that was firebombed, and this was a response. People were trying to find money to build it up again, and there was a donate a poem kind of project that was going around, and they wanted poems for to sell the anthology and help the come. So this is one of the poems that I wrote. It's called I Will Rise. Genghis Khan rode through the land, cutting across mountains and plains, cutting me down, leaving me in shreds. But I rose. The old university at Nalanda, torched to the ground by fundamentalists, believing only their right. Stakes driven into bodies of monks, death, destruction all around. My words turned to ash, my body to dust. But I rose, just as I did again when the Nazis threw me on bonfires, locked me inside cauldrons of hate, set fire to my brain and played with my body because they didn't like what I said, the way I lived and breathed, or who I was. But I rose above it all. They cut my tongue so I wouldn't cry, chopped my fingers so I could not sign, then left me to die in a cold, dark prison. Yet again I rose. They burned me on a stake in an European town, called me a witch, denied me a voice. But I rose. My book was banned, they threw me out, hounded me across continents, because I didn't conform to what they wanted. I hid for a while, and then I rose. They blew up the Buddhas of Kandahar, desecrated the shrines, ripped holes in the sands of time. But I rose. They shut me up in the land of the free, told me everything was as it should be. Politicians were good, Wall Street so pure. Still I rose. I tempted them, that's what they said, as they threw a shroud and covered me up like they do the dead. My voice was weak, but I rose. They broke down the walls of worship in the desert, killed the statues, and set fire to manuscripts. But I rose. They did all this, I'm not surprised, not one bit, as someone threw a bomb inside my house and let it burn, burn. My words crumpled and turned to cinders, and they think they have won. Yet I will rise. I will rise, for I am truth, and I will rise. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shirani. Especially for the Gaza poem, I think really appropriate to have a poem about Gaza today, especially in India. Our next poet is Daryl Lim Wei Ji. He's 35, and when I asked him to tell me something that's not in his bio, he said, "I'm a glutton." And he lives in the right place. If you're into food, he lives in Singapore, except for 4 years when he was studying in the UK. I was very surprised to hear that you've lived most of your life in Singapore, because your personality, you have a real personality, and somehow you don't expect that from someone from Singapore, because Singapore has a way of flattening personality into homogeneity.
No.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Daryl.
Okay, thank you everyone for being here today. What an honor and privilege it is to be in Bangalore. I will risk reading one poem that I read. Oh, Tanya.
Do we have a mic?
Yeah.
No.
Hello? No? No?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay. Let's try that again. What an honor and pleasure it is to be in Bangalore. I will risk reading one poem that I read just now, because I think the crowd is mostly regenerated, except I see a few familiar faces. So sorry to you people for hearing the poem a second time. Sorry? Can't hear me? Can't hear? Yeah. Maybe I'll check on that.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah, that's
Much better.
Yeah.
Why am I always loud?
Hello, this is better, yeah. Okay, I'm not going to do the front part again, so I'll stick to that. I'm going to read from my book of poems, Anything But Human. If you were here in the last panel, I apologize in advance. I'll read the same poem again for one poem, because it's the first poem, and I'm kind of attached to opening poems, because they set the mood for the whole book. So the first poem is Expression of Contentment. I am extraordinarily, really, very comfortable. Even my toes have gone for psychoanalysis, and my nose hairs have their favorite brand of chips. Sour cream, never barbecue. The tree outside my flat turned blue, and I said nothing. And all morning the clouds grew pregnant with knives, and I said nothing. And the table is cleaner than ever. There has been an utter genocide of dust. It's crazy. I am so comfortable, my thighs have turned to organic jam, and my tongue is purple. Although, outside of a sundae, do you know what a strawberry tastes like? The second poem is called Sunday. There are a lot of incidental references to America. So I guess America is a specter that haunts the book in some ways. Sunday. Your stillness leaves me gasping against the parquet. Road widening continues. Ma is getting her hair done again. In Red Hill, a man fitfully pisses into a storm drain. Soft fruit is stepped on, a gravelly paste on gravel. They say fried chicken has never been so widely available. America thinks we are Indonesia, Vietnam, North Korea. Parliament is closed today, but so are the karaoke lounges. In Cantonese, we say, we've waited so long, even our necks are long. After I'm dead, please burn my epic poem about conservancy charges. When is the next election? Asked nobody. At the market, the uncle is somewhat ethnocentric. This new development combines retail, petroleum refining, and jazz. Buy low and sell before the warheads are fired. I deny everything, even my denials. I wish to make a living writing haiku on tea bags. The nation's favorite sex position is tax deductible. Like everyone else, I cried. I get up from the floor and make myself a highball. Tonight, I will dream of a snake made of green smoke, sliding vaguely through the mile a minute, either going home or elsewhere. It's impossible to say. I'll just continue the vein of America poems, since I'm next to an American who's really lovely and not like the bad Americans. She's really wonderful. This poem is called Imperialism, the Highest Stage of Capitalism. I am sleeping in the now, the royally lubricated now. Yesterday, the delivery man came, and I told him I hadn't slept for 3 days, so he let me moisturize his missing knee. America forgot all about us, and realizing this, I wept in a controlled manner into my bowl of gasping goldfish. After a few drinks, I start to mumble to the pock-marked barman that there is only nature or there is no nature, but he rejects my radiant advances. Poetry emerges as a searching, jackal-like need from the groin. The latest cholesterol numbers are a gripping read, said the Times literary supplement, still a much-favored organ this side of the Yangtze. I love drug names, and when the doctors prescribed me pseudoephedrine, I wrestled him to the ground and made him moan those syllables again and again in delicious submission. My tongue has already begun to worm its way to new sources of indignity. This near poem does not contain any advances in technology. I'm sitting in the front room waiting for the light to catch me. A missile launched from Hawaii lodges in my glossy sanctum. Overnight, all the QR codes are linking to the same photograph of a child's bloody, severed ear. The mouth has always been a site of atrocity. Tonight, there are as many truths as there are flavors of Oreo. In my country, when something goes badly, we say tialat, meaning eats the energy. And each passing day in this age of exhaustion is more and more tialat, tialat, tialat. I take a pigeon from its nest and bite into its wriggling flesh. Now, if you want to be called sir, might I suggest you go to the nearest McDonald's, or at a pinch, Taco Bell. Last poem. As you notice, my poems are quite short. So when I was thinking about ending this book, my good friend said, you have to write a long poem, because there's something wrong with this book if it doesn't have a long poem. So I wrote a long poem, and here it is. It's called Credo, and the Credo in Latin means I believe. I believe in the slipperiness of mornings and the scent of freshly mown man. I believe in the freezer section, that bulwark, value pack upon value pack of Japanese crispy chicken with seaweed. I believe in the glorious, heaving, finely muscled state who sets aside designated ash scattering lanes lined with a bed of pebbles which allow the ashes to percolate into the soil beneath. I believe in the air fryer. I believe in a God who doesn't know what he is doing. I believe in not masturbating 7 times a day. I believe in the Epipremnium aureum, the ubiquitous money plant, the devil's ivy, which refuses to flower, but grows recklessly, relentlessly, a strangling creeper, which will one day inherit our sodden, vacant world. I believe in the dead and their silences. I believe in the purity of hate. I believe in plastic, the sword that encases your heart and protects it from living. I believe when at last we are in paradise, it will still be possible to feel ennui. I believe in lust that keeps you awake, looking for new styles of rattan furniture. I believe in air conditioning. I believe in shopping centers where you may glimpse a version of yourself in a far-off mirror, wearing Polo Ralph Lauren, 3 kids in tow. I believe in pork, the forbidden flesh, the greasy, crispy crackling, perhaps so forbidden, because so akin to man. I believe in not brushing my teeth to let the wretchedness really sink in. I believe beauty is a searing knife. I believe in globalization that washes up 28 new brands of lingerie. I believe in clavicles and cheekbones, sorry, it was not the end. I believe in fakes. I believe in the fakeness that burrows in your brain, spawning maggots of fake, which eat your body and metamorphose you into a factory of fake, shitting out fake, high-grade radioactive fake, a pus-filled lake of fake. I believe in monosodium glutamate. I believe that death is the body's reversion to normal. I believe in silencing myself before they silence me. I believe in this land of perpetual discounts. I believe the old live on to tell us lies. I believe in the blank terror that leaves me gasping for air. I believe in the sun that will evermore envelop us until it finally hatches itself. I believe in the word that chews me and glues me back. I believe in the mute certainty of obliteration. I believe in the body's slow consumption of itself. I believe we may be the dream of an alien janitor. I believe in love. I believe in the program that will resurrect us almost perfectly. I believe that time may be a collective delusion. I believe that time might be intergalactic currency. I believe that time is running out. There was too much of it anyway, and as the handsome bot on my Facebook feed tells me, time is like a pig knife. Good night.
Can I get the mic?
Check. Thanks so much. Vivid poems from a vivid personality. And poems that can make you laugh and cry in the same stanza, pretty much like life. Our third poet is Amal al-Sahlawi, whose day job, you may not be surprised to hear, though I was, is taxes.
It's what?
Taxes. She works with taxes. She does tax for people. She says that she brings an awareness of what a tax return involves. And she also mentioned in passing that suffering brings creativity. So maybe poetry and taxation aren't as far apart as one might think. Her Instagram page has no photographs, only poetry. And she has a poem that's been performed at the Met. It's about divine love. Ladies and gentlemen, Amal al-Sahlawi.
Hello, everyone. What a beautiful crowd. I wish I could read this in English or Indian language, but I would be performing in Arabic. I hope you can read the poem from here. جئت من هناك من الأرض البعيدة. جئت من هناك من الأرض البعيدة التي يفقد فيها الناس أسماءهم. حملت على كتفي أحلام الآخرين وضمدت عيني كجرحين وأذنت للذكريات وأذنت للدموع أن تسيل كالذكريات القديمة. لو أنك تعرف كم طريقا ضعت فيه، كم مرة أهدرت أيامي في الغياب، كم ريحا نفخت وحدتها في صدري. أنا التي جئت من هناك من الأرض البعيدة التي يفقد فيها الناس أسماءهم. أخبرتهم أن شيئا في داخلي يبس من الضجر. أخبرتهم عن العالم الذي باغته يلعب الشطرنج، يحركنا بيادق في معارك لا نعرفها. أخبرتهم عن أصناف البشر الذين كانوا يخلعون وجوها شتى حتى يمسحوا عرق الحقيقة عن جباههم. أخبرتهم عن وحشة الكرنفال وهلع المهرجين وغبطة التسكع تحت الجسور، عن موعد العودة إلى البيت. أنا التي جئت من هناك من الأرض البعيدة التي يفقد فيها الناس أسماءهم. حلمت أنني أنحدر من سفح أخضر، كنت أنهمر بصيغة سائلة وأجرف أتباعي من الحجارة والأسماك والأغصان المتكسرة والزنبق الأبيض وبط كأنه الصباح، وأسألهم إلى أين نمضي، فتومئ الأشجار إلي كي أمضي. هرعت كجيش شجاع مأخوذا بهتاف أتباعي، أضيق وأتسع، أغير شكل الجبل دون رغبة ملحة في ذلك. أنقذ صبيا من الغرق، أسمح بالصيد للجائعين، تغسل سيدة على خاصرتي ثياب التعب، وتصهل الخيول في أذني بقصص المغيب. كنت أمتد مثل الكون، كنت أمتد مثل الكون، تنقل الطيور أخباري إلى الغد لتستعد القرى بالغناء. كنت أحمل بقايا الأمس وأغسلها لتذهب طاهرة من الأرق. كنت آخذ كل شيء إلى حتفه كنهر لا يمل من الجريان. The last poem, it's not translated here, but it's a tribute to my mom. It's actually advices I wrote to my mom for a younger self. So I think all the women will feel relevant to that. اتركيني أحاور الأشياء، لا تخافي إذا جنوني تراءى. سامحيني مقدما لذنوبي واعلمي سوف أكثر الأخطاء. يا ملاكا ما زال يفهم ضعفي، وحبيبا لم يهو يوما رياء. عانقيني بشدة واجرفيني، تلك بنت كم تعشق الانتماء. واتركيني في حضنك الحلو أغفو لأرى في منامي الأنبياء. سامحيني مليون ألف اعتذار عن مئات الأيام ضاعت هباء. لم أقلها إني أحبك جدا، كيف للكون أن يزيد انتشاء. لا تضحي بكل شيء لأجلي رأفة بالجميع، كفي عطاء. واتركيني لكل ما يتحدى لنعودي لكي أطال السماء. أعلم الآن أن أمري صعب، لا أبالي نعم أفور استياء لم أكن مثلهن أتقن كحلي أو كما الأخريات أذوي حياء قد تسكعت في الهوامش وحدي وحريق الذي عرفتيه ضاء أعلم الآن أن أمري صعب لا أبالي نعم أفور استياء لست حيرة بشأن نفسي ولكن ليس سهلا بأن نكون النساء. It's not easy to be a woman.
Beautiful. That was so beautiful.
Thanks so much. The thing about poetry is whichever language it might be, even if you don't understand it, even if the translation is not on the screen, it sounds like poetry. And we could hear as the poems ended. Thank you so much. Our next poet is the best dressed poet on the stage. And the youngest, he's 29, his name is Ali Maazmi from Sharjah. He won the Silk Road Prize for Best Published Book of Poetry. He says that today, the difference between being a poet today and being a poet in the past is that time moves faster than before. You can't walk quietly in the street. 500 years ago, somebody would move in a quiet way, even if they were moving on a horse. Now we move so fast, so loud, that it's hard to find the exact time to catch the small things from which poetry is created. Ladies and gentlemen, Ali Maazmi.
What?
Thank you. Hi everyone. في أحد أعياد الأم رفع اليتامى صور أمهاتهم جهة الله وانتزعوا ظل السماء الكئيب. غاضبين كانوا لكن دمعة لم تسقط. هي ثورة الأمهات سموها مطالبين بالقصاص. كانت أعدادهم تتزايد ففي هذا العالم تموت الأمهات كثيرا. كانوا يرغبون بنبية أم بديانة ثدي جديدة رافعين أصواتهم والريح تشتد. أول الأيتام أنا من سيجيبهم ولسان الوحي مقطوع. من سيجيب والسماء ألقت الخاتم منذ زمن. كانوا واثقين بعض أطفال يغنون عن الحليب ويجهزون بئرا وكأنما المعجزات لم تمت. الراوي كان على قمة حزن. الوحيد الذي يبكي لمشهد القيامة هذا يقول فجأة رفع المتظاهرون صورة للمرأة نفسها. الآلاف جثموا على ركبهم حتى الريح على ركبتيها. أم واحدة جعلت كل اليتامى صامتين هادئين. هي الكثيرة وكأنها ملاذات لا تنتهي وفيها سحنة من نور. بدأت السماء تنشق والحاضرون دفنوا رؤوسهم في الأرض. أسمع طبلا وهتاف عظام راجفة. والأطفال كانوا وحدهم من رأوا وجهه وشاهدوا الآبار تتفجر بالحليب والسماء تمطرهم أما بحيث لم يبق رمق يتيم. آخ لو رفع اليتامى صور أمهاتهم. اليوم أدركت أن للنجمة ظلا. كنت قد عبرت صلاة جماعة لعصافير قرب الشاطئ. مشيت على الماء منبهرا بهذه الظلال البيضاء. النبوة أن تقبض على ظل والظل وحي مشفر والظل حقيقة. الظل كثرة صامتة. قليلون من سمعوا صوت الصمت وفهموا لعبة الأولياء. ومن حسن حظي أن عيني ضئيلة ويدي قصيرة وأني هنا لأشكو عني أتحدث. أعمى الألوان من فقد الحقيقة في سن مبكرة وبلا ظهر حمل حقائب المغادرين ونام ليال فيها. قصير القامة أثر رصاصة على خده الأيمن وقيل لا وحام لأمه قبل مولده سواه. مرجوج في الدماغ وعينه اليسرى تقلب العالم. يرى العالم في صورتين هذا الفتى عنه أتحدث، من حاول القبض على ظل نجمة ولما رام تعثر بعين العشق. وهنا تبدأ المسيرة في النهاية، ويفهم المرء لغة الأزهار ولغات الموتى، وهو يخطو بلا أثر، حاف وعار تماما، لا يتحدث، تصدره الأصوات، وبعد كل خطوة يخرج شبح من عينيه ويسقط قناع. إنه يتطهر يتضاءل، لكنه أيضا ينتشر في الريح، وتحمل المياه أشلاءه القديمة. قريب من الخط الفاصل مركب أبيض اقترب من السلام، لكن الخفة معرفة، الخفة قوساء الحقيقة. قبل أن يصل سقط في آخر قطرة من الماء. I think I'll be fine with two. Oh, okay. Another one. الإوزة التي كانت تسبح في عيني حين كانت لي بحيرات ومدن من وسامة، وجدتها مخلوعة الرأس، ومن شدة تحديقي الحزين صرت أعور في دروب الوحش، وصرت نايا للجن. قصيدتي بكاء عريق، لنصمت وهلة يا عازف، فلتبقي لي نفسا أرتاح به، أو أجرب النأي على طريقة الثعالب، ولأفكر هل جاء النأي من الناي، هل ترحل مع الأنفاس أتعاب الروح وتصدر نغما يكاد يشي بمكان الله. لنعد إلى البحيرة والحسناء، كما يكون الحب في مغسلة الموتى، كما يرفع ميت كفنه عاليا ويطوح به في الجنازة. لنعد إلى ما قبل الحياة، يوم كانت في عيني وكنت في دفئها أغتسل، ليس كمثلها أحد، انفرادة محضة، لكننا ولدنا وسالت من مساقط رؤوسنا الدماء، تجرعنا سم الأمهات ورأينا بعضنا خارج أحداقنا، افترقنا بوداع ركيك. الآن ها أنا أعالج الندبة بالحديد، أخيط الجراح بميسم وأودعها قفزة لا تسقط.
Thanks so much. Some of the images in your poems, the blood, the bones, the skulls, the dead, adult and children, familiar to all of us who watch television today. And I really like the way you read those words in a calm, almost deadpan way. Maybe that is the way to approach horrific images. Thank you so much. Our next poet is Claudia Keelan. She said that once as a child she had rabies. Her parents were hippies who moved from California to Oklahoma. And it's surprising to think of old hippies, isn't it? But so it is. And the people across the street from where Claudia and her family lived were called the Laws, as in
The law.
the law, you know, the man. And one of the little boys in the Law family said to Claudia, "Would you like to pet my dog?" I would have thought twice, but Claudia did not. She pet the dog, and he jumped up, bit her in the eye, and she had rabies for 2 weeks. She lives in the Mojave Desert, where, as she says, all great books begin, and perhaps where they end. And she says that in her MFA class, she often asks students to begin a piece with the phrase, "It may surprise you to learn that, ... Ladies and gentlemen, Claudia Keelan.
Thank you. I think this is loud enough. Since you read such a moving poem about a mother, I'm going to read a poem about a mother, a famous mother, Mary, the mother of Jesus. I always loved the story of the Nativity, the pregnant Mary and Joseph going to the manger, because they can find no place in the inn, and Jesus is born among sheep. Well, anyway, I had this dream on Christmas Eve, the day before Christmas, and it was intact. And this is in the voice of Mary, the mother of Jesus. and it's called Mary Wasn't Sure. Mary wasn't sure about any of it. She didn't like her traveling cloak, and she didn't like the donkey. She didn't like the manger or the dung that had lodged itself on her shoe. She didn't like the three kings and their smelly gifts. She liked paying her taxes and the sharp clatter the coins made when counted. Though she hadn't liked the journey, none of it, or all the new villages one after the other, withholding all the stories she'd never hear or tell. She really didn't like the donkey that kept turning its head and nipping her ankles. And she hated her traveling cloak. She liked the angels, their sexlessness, their vacant smiles so full of promise, the sudden hope she felt when they played their golden horns. She wondered if she was an angel, but no, she had a baby. He lay in a manger, no crib for his bed. She liked the baby, its helplessness. His name was Jesus. She wondered if he was an angel, but no, he was a baby. Neither of them were angels. They were in it together. First of all, the manger, and then the rest of the story, both she and Jesus already knew. The shepherds, too. They knew, and they liked the baby who lay on her traveling cloak in the straw. She didn't like the story, except the beginning. She didn't like the way she knew how it was going to end. Not because she already, as Jesus already, knew the end, but because it was a tragedy, and she didn't like tragedies. No one would remember this, the small and smelly manger and the helpless baby who was clean and eating, who lay on her traveling cloak on the straw. No one would remember her as she was now, a girl who just paid her taxes and had a baby she called Jesus, whom she'd bathed in a trough and lay in her cloak on the straw. She was a girl who just had a baby. She was happy, if a little tired, and Jesus was happy, if asleep, but no one would paint this picture enough. No, she saw it all. She knew it already, and so did Jesus in his baby sleep, dreaming himself the dead man his mother would hold forever in her lap. Switching gears, Daryl and I are going to read one of my translations. These are translations of the first known advent of women's writing in 11th and 12th century Occitan, which is now the south of France. They were young women between the ages of 12 and 15, and they sound like it. They argue with the boyfriend troubadour about who loves each other the most. And they never win the argument. And the way that they did this in the courts where they lived, because they were married to the feudal lord because they had been traded to put land together, is that the audience would vote who won the argument within the poem. This is a poem between Lanfranc Segala, who is a troubadour, and a judge in Genoa, and Guillaume de Roser, who is thought to have been a noblewoman of Provence. All of the Trouberites were young women who became noblewomen as long as they had a son. If they did not have a son, they were returned home or put in a convent. This is at the end of the troubadour's reign in France. The Catholic Church, strangely enough, called Pope Innocent, led a crusade to kill these people who were heretical Christians, and the Trouberites, who were the lady of the troubadour poems, like the beloved figure of the lady, were never heard of again, and the troubadours that remained went to Italy and to Spain. And the lady of these poems, who's very much a lady in a body, who's saying, you are just fooling me because you want my money or my body, became in those traditions in Spain and Italy the Virgin Mary. So the lady was gone. Okay. You start. This is Lefranc, who's, these are it's probably a poem about people who were dispersed from their homes by Pope Innocent when he came to kill all of these people. And they're arguing about should they help them or not.
It was a cold and stormy night.
Is that what?
No. It was a cold and stormy night when some sad strangers, talking in the dark, wish aloud for a place dry and free of danger. Two lovers going to their goals heard them, while one ran back to offer cover, the other ran on to the mating game. What would you do if you were a lover?
The way I see it, love's all about trust. Those who make their own beds do best. Who cares that he gave help to strangers? All she saw was he flunked the test. While her sister held her man in her arms, she lay alone, afraid he was harmed. I'd choose him who come home to me and drop the one with Jesus syndrome.
You shouldn't even use the word trust, since it was belief in love that showed him how to help the rest escape harm or death. That's the test, to love who most needs love. She should fall on her knees and see with open eyes that this man who loves her, who stopped to aid the lost, the hungry, the cold, he did what only great hearts are told.
So now you're down to justify a guy who lives to rectify? His code has zero to do with love. If his act meant to exemplify, why so late to her above all? All of them would have been grateful. There's no lack of down and outs to help in places closer to home.
Well, excuse me, lady, I'm a simp. What I knew all along is true. Your happiness will always elude you anyway but that which leads to you. If you want to teach a horse to jump, you guide it with brains and become sage. Lovers go lame when spurred too hard. His limp is your due, and now you rage.
This is the last time I'll say it. That man should do what's fit right now and pay his dues to his fine and beautiful woman. When she's at home, the feast begins, even when he's gone, but he's chicken. Every man's a hero, but that wimp, if real bad showed up, he'd fly the coop.
Lady, I'm strong and I'm firm. Not for you. I could have you in my sleep. The second time won't come so cheap. Do what you can to best my rhyme.
Heads up. Here's a promise I won't break. With everything I know and all I feel, with all my brains for my own defense, I'll elude the words of any man. They're always fighting about them being the better poet than the men. And they arguably are. Where's my book? I'm sitting on it. I live in Las Vegas, Nevada, which is in the Mojave Desert. And it's been in drought the entire time I've lived there. So there's a real sense of ecological disaster. And I'm going to read some poems addressed to that. There are more cement structures in Las Vegas, which is the worst kind of building to build in a very hot place. There are more cement structures in all the casinos and everything there than any place else in the world. Circa 2016, I feel the desperate dead restlessly looking for lost worlds. 97 years ago, Las Vegas was wetland. Las Vegas means the meadows. a vast grazing plain for cattle and wild animals. Our migration will look different. Abandoning the city in our Taco Bell uniforms, we scavenged the desolate Cracker Barrels for food along Interstate 15. Las Vegas also has the distinction of being a place where a lot of people are sex trafficked. This poem is, a lot of my poems deal with the figure of a she as a figure, aesthetic principle, the lady of the old poems, the idea of truth, the classical definition of the lady. And so this is to her, and it's called Segundo Primer, which just means second book. She had molded the hands and feet on the sculptor's famous statues and stopped there, led strangers to the New World and died there. She is sold now in Las Vegas. There are many versions of her, 7, 12, 17 years old, stolen from every part of the old world which has not died. She is the remnant talking, remnant spiritus mundi, spirit of the world, the glorious mathematic stalled and proliferation. No more births. She's smiling from the side of her eyes, wet tears on your face. Dark eulogy. Mother, your minors suffocate miles inside you. And Father, always helpless see God, you can't help your daughters escape their terrible deaths. Every century finds its method of tapping her. I hear machines in the paradise and calliope shrieking inside their wine. Mama has forgotten me, and still the children mouth overfilled with gods. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Claudia. We're almost out of time, but I'm going to read one poem.
I'm sorry, you should have stopped me.
Sorry?
You should have stopped me sooner.
It's okay. Go ahead. This is called New Age Blood Sport, and it's about Gaza. They know how to kill. They're gifted at this. They can kill at a distance, up close, from the sky, from the sea, when you expect it, when you don't. When you're with your shrunken family, when you're alone or praying or asleep, when you're playing or sick, when you're tending to the dead. They are skilled at killing. Their machinery is new and complex. They've invested years of labor, more money than you'll ever see. When not working, they like to dance at festivals all over the world. They get high in the mountains, swim in the ocean, brown in the sun. They open cafes in distant places where locals aren't allowed to enter. The menus are in their language. The food is healthy, clean, and cheap. They eat with friends, watch the boats, nap after lunch, buy quilts for the winter, watch movies with the sound on mute so as not to disturb the baby. Drink apple, beetroot, carrot juice first thing in the morning, get on a Zoom call and laugh and sleep the sleep of innocence.
Yeah.
And one last one also for Gaza. We sing our song of praise. Eyes full of sleep and smoke, we run into the street and praise the sky. Where fire falls in columns, praise the hands too far to touch, praise the gaps in our head. Standing in line 8 hours for water, we praise the water. In the hospital become dust, we praise the dust, we are dust. In the operation theater, when the power fails, we praise your power. In makeshift homes, makeshift gardens, we praise the dead. Each second of video we praise. Behind cars, in doorways, with our hands to our face, we praise. With mud in our mouths, we offer the fruit of our lips. We praise and go on praising. The slow, ancient trees on fire, we praise. Our missing friends, rockets flying like endearments. The last words of the lost city, extinguished like the light in her eyes. We don't stop praising. Louder we praise, burning, forgotten by you. Thank you very much.
I'm so
Thanks so much, everybody, and thank you to the amazing poets here for this beautiful evening. Thank you so much.